In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace a fuel pump on a Nissan NV2500. It is located in the fuel tank. Before we remove our fuel pump, we need to depressurize our fuel system. You have a fuse box that's right behind your battery. You need to remove the lid. There's a clip on one side and a clip on the other. You need to push those clips in and lift straight up on the cover. You need to remove fuse F18, which is the top left 15 amp fuse for your fuel pump. Now you want to start your vehicle and let it run until it stalls. Sometimes it won't start, it'll just start and stall. Once you've depressurized the fuel system, remove your negative battery terminal. That nut is a 10 millimeter. Put it off to the side. On the left-hand side, so your driver's side of the vehicle, is your gas tank. Your gas tank has a hose that goes to your fuel filler neck. It has a clamp with a 10 millimeter bolt. You need to loosen that clamp. Once you've loosened your clamp, slide it onto the fuel filler neck and put it off to the side. Just above that, you have a return line. You need to remove your return line. Fuel might still leak out of this line. It is okay. It is proper to put a bucket underneath to catch your fuel. You want to push these two tabs together and pull straight out on your line. Now you need to remove your fuel filler neck hose from the fuel filler neck. I'm just using a pick. Go around the hose, release it from the neck. Now remove your hose from the neck. You have another hose that goes from your gas tank to your evap canister. You need to remove that from the canister. By doing that, you can take a pick on one side, take another pick on the other side, pry outwards on the two tabs, and pull straight out on your connector. And pull straight out on your hose. Now that we removed our rubber hose from our fuel filler neck, you want to plug that off. You don't want any debris to go into your fuel tank. You can use a rag. I'm just using a plastic plug. Your fuel pump wiring is connected to the frame with these 5 clips. You need to remove those clips from the frame. I'm just using a pair of pliers. You want to pull straight out towards you. Your gas tank has a metal shield that protects it. We need to remove that. So I'm going to use my fuel tank jack to hold our shield and remove our bolts. Towards the rear of the tank, you're going to have one 12 millimeter bolt that bolts to the frame. Then on the same frame rail, you're going to have another 12 millimeter bolt in the front part of the tank. So sticking with the front side of the tank, on the inside, just below your drive shaft, there's another 12 millimeter bolt. You need to remove that. Now we're back to the rear part of the tank. You're going to have two 12 millimeter nuts that hold your emergency brake cables and your shield. You need to remove both of those. Now you want to remove both of your emergency brake cables from your bracket just by sliding them down and securing them off to the side. Now you want to lower your jack. and put your shield off to the side. After removing our gas tank shield from our gas tank jack, you need to put your jack back up underneath your gas tank. Your gas tank is held on by two straps, one in the front, one in the rear. Both of those bolts that you need to remove are 17mm bolts. We're going to start with the rear one. Your gas tank strap mount has a hole at the top here. You need to lift your gas tank strap up into that hole, pull towards the fuel tank, and remove your strap. You want to repeat this process with your other gas tank strap. Now we're going to remove our forward gas tank strap. It is a 17mm also. To remove your gas tank strap from the mount, lift straight up, just like we did to the rear one. And out. Here are our two gas tank straps. As you can see, one of them is smaller than the other. The smaller one always goes towards the front of the vehicle. Your drive shaft needs to be removed before you remove your fuel tank. Your drive shaft center bearing is held in by two 14mm nuts. You need to remove those. Now you have another 14mm nut on your other side of your center shaft. You need to remove that. Now we're at the rear part of our drive shaft where it goes into our rear differential. Before you remove your 4 bolts, you need to mark your differential and your drive shaft. You can use a punch or a marker. What this does is your drive shaft is balanced, so you want to keep this in line in the same spot that you did when you removed it. Once you've made your mark, now you can remove your 4 17mm bolts and nuts. Once your 4 bolts and nuts are removed, now you need to separate your drive shaft from your axle. You can take a rubber mallet and tap on your drive shaft. Before you remove your drive shaft, your front part of your drive shaft goes into the back of your transmission. That contains fluid. So when you pull your drive shaft out, fluid might leak out of the back side of your transmission, so you want to have a bucket underneath to catch your fluid. You want to lift up on your center of your drive shaft where your center bearing is to release it from the 2 studs straight out to the back of the vehicle. And put your drive shaft off to the side. After lowering your tank about 4 inches, you're going to see a cover that covers your fuel pump. This cover has 3 10mm nuts. You need to remove those 3 10mm nuts. Once you removed your 3 10mm nuts, remove your cover and put it off to the side. Your fuel pump plug is on the top. You can do one of 2 things. You can push down on this tab, or you can go into the back with a pick, lift up on the tab, and pull straight out with your harness. Now you need to remove your fuel line from your fuel pump. To do that, you have 2 tabs, one on each side. You want to crimp those together and pull your line off. You can do that by using a pair of pliers to squeeze the 2 tabs together. Now you can lower your fuel tank. Before you remove your fuel pump, you need to clean your area. You don't want any of this debris to go inside your fuel tank while you have your pump out. You need to reuse this clip. You need to remove it from your old pump by spreading these two out and sliding it off. You need to remove this fuel line by pulling out these two tabs and pulling the line straight towards you. Your fuel pump is held in by a metal ring. You can use a brass punch, and you want to turn this counterclockwise. Once your ring is unlocked, lift it straight up. And out. Put it off to the side. Once your ring is off, give it a quick wipe. You want to pry very gently on your fuel pump straight up. You have a seal. Make sure you remove your seal. Make sure your seal doesn't fall into your tank. Lift straight up on your fuel pump. Your fuel pump is going to have fuel in it, so be careful not to spill it. And that's your fuel pump. You want to remove your seal. Clean the seal area. Install your O-ring. Now install your fuel pump. Your fuel pump is spring-loaded, so you need to push that down. Now we can reinstall our ring. Once we've started our ring on our tabs, take our brass punch, hit it so the ring spins clockwise. You know your ring is fully locked in when you see this lump is in between the tab on all of them. This is also a good time to take the bracket that you removed when the fuel tank was still up in the vehicle, slide it over the studs, and make sure you can get to the two hoses and your plug. Now you can reinstall your hose. Just push straight in and reinstall your clip. Once we have our fuel tank up in place, you can install your plug for your fuel pump. Make sure it's fully seated. Now your high pressure fuel line. Make sure that's fully seated. Now you can install your fuel pump cover. In your three 10mm nuts. Now you can tighten those three down. And torque all three at 53 inch-pounds. Now we're going to jack our tank up. Before we jack our fuel tank all the way up into place, we're going to install our fuel tank straps. Install it into its hanger, let it hang. Now we're going to do the rear. Now we're going to jack our fuel tank all the way up. Make sure it's seated and install our bolts for our fuel straps. Now you can tighten that rear strap down. And now your front strap. Now you can tighten that one. Both fuel strap bolts get torqued down to 26 foot-pounds. Now you can remove your gas tank jack. Now you can reinstall your fuel filler neck hose. And your clamp. And your vent hose. Now we're going to reinstall our 5 clips on our wiring harness into our frame. Now you can reinstall your hose on your evap canister. Listen for the click. We have our gas tank shield back onto our jack. We're going to jack that up into place. Now we can install our bolts. And install our emergency brake cable brackets. Now you can tighten all your bolts and nuts. All your tank shield bolts and nuts get torqued down to 10 foot-pounds. Now you can remove your gas tank jack. Your center bearing has 2 holes in its bracket. You want to put those 2 holes over the 2 studs and install your nuts. Lift your drive shaft over the cross member. You want to slide your yoke from your drive shaft into the back of the transmission. Slide your center bearing bracket over the studs. Now install your 2 nuts and tighten them down. Those 2 nuts get torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. Now the rear part of the drive shaft, you want to match up your 2 marks on your drive shaft and your rear differential and install your bolts. Now you can tighten all your bolts. Now you want to torque all 4 of those bolts to 61 foot-pounds. Now we're going to reinstall our 15 amp fuse into cavity F18 and install our cover. Now we can reinstall our negative battery cable onto our battery. Make sure it's snug. Now you want to insert your key into the ignition. Turn it all the way on without starting it 5 times. Now you can start your vehicle. Let your vehicle run for a couple of seconds. Shut it off and check for leaks. If you do not have any leaks, you're good. Also, when I removed our drive shaft, fluid did leak out. So now you want to check your transmission fluid. You want to fill your transmission fluid to the manufacturer's specification.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.